you entered the product sort of realm, you mentioned that for a brief moment you were considering being a consultant. Now that's a very interesting thing, because that's what a lot of people are still very confused about. And if you are sort of graduating from a really good MBA college, you have these two options. Yeah, like a large part of are these two options. So if you could sort of help us understand, like how should one think about it, like which one to pick, and it might not suit everyone.
Absolutely.
You would have your own sort of reasons why you did it, but I think it will be good to understand how do you sort of think about this dilemma.
Yeah, no, this is a very, very personal kind of decision that people make, because these decisions have long range impact on your trajectory of what you want to do in your life and so on and so forth. So I'll just share with you how I thought about it, right? And maybe that's instructive, maybe it's not. I mean, that was just my personal journey. First and foremost, I have massive regard for people who work at all these consulting firms, because these firms bring so much intellectual capital and analytical rigor, and they see patterns that sometimes, when you're working in one company and you're focused on a project, you don't really see the bigger patterns. And what the premier consulting firms and good consultants can do is kind of really help you connect the dots in ways which you yourself will never do, because you don't have the insights, you don't have the time to think about it, and so on. So those were some of the reasons, by the way, I was attracted to consulting in the first place, which is like, look, it's going to be very interesting for me to solve problems from one industry to another industry, and really work with like A-level people, the CXOs of the world, and all that. So which I think it's a great career. For me personally, where it came down to as I was digging into it, as I made the decision, I think it basically came down to a practical consideration and a sort of an emotional consideration. The emotional consideration was more about like, what do I really want to do in my life? Do I want to build products? Do I want to get scale? I'm a technologist. I just love being around engineers. I'm an engineer myself, all that. And I just couldn't see myself on a day-to-day basis getting that fulfillment in the consulting role, right? So that was the emotional connection. And then the practical consideration was, consulting requires you to just be on the road, travel, and do all that. And I was, a few years into my career. I was not at an early stage in my career. I had almost like, I think 8 or 9 years of experience before I got to MBA, right? So at that point, my wife and I, we were like, I don't want to do that, right? I want to like just be more focused on one problem and kind of practically manage my life. So those were the two considerations, and that's how I kind of decided.